I found in Hong Kong people do struggle with the l sound or the r sound for r.
因為你睇一個字讀出聲係要用 phonics， 唔係用 A、B、C 嘅音響。
Because when we think A, we usually say A is for apple, but of course apple starts with an A sound.
So am I reading right?
You're just spelling it out.
That's alphabet reading, is that not right?
That's not right.
嚟啦！
Hello and welcome back to episode 5 of the Casual Curriculum Cook-Along. And today is a very, very special one because number 1, I have my dear mother with me here today.
Hi.
And number 2, it's going to be very special because we're going to be recreating my grandma Mary's scones. Your mum's scone.
Yeah, my lovely mum.
God rest her soul.
Is it scones or is it scones?
I say scones.
No, I think in Hong Kong we say scones.
But I'm glad we bring that up because that's very, very important for our topic today. Why you should not learn the alphabet, which is obviously quite contentious. But actually what we're going to be focusing on is the idea of phonics, which is very, very important for language acquisition or for anyone learning to speak, read, spell English.
This concept is so crazy， 因為我哋喺香港第一樣嘢學嘅學校就係 A、B、C。
So obviously the alphabet is still very, very important and everybody learns the A, B, C, D,
E、F、G。
But what we're going to try and prove is that learning phonics is just as valuable, if not even more valuable, for continued learning of English. With that in mind, you've got our topic and you've got what we will be baking today, so let's jump straight into it. Okay, this is very special for me because my grandma Mary was the very first person to teach me how to be in a kitchen, how to cook, how to bake.
My mum was a trained baker and confectioner. She was renowned and famous for her scones and her apple pie.
So the first thing we're going to do, we've got 450 grams of flour there.
Yeah.
Could you sieve that into the bowl, please, Mum? 100 grams of margarine, 50 grams of caster sugar. Grandma's recipe says you need to work the flour, the margarine and the sugar to make it like breadcrumb. Please. Voila! Showing people the technique.
好啦，咁我想問 on behalf of all our audience， 點解你哋 qualify 去教我哋家長點樣去教小朋友？點解要用 phonics？
Well, I taught phonics in a primary school for over 20 years, so I think I've got quite a bit of experience.
Well, for myself, first of all, I studied English language and literature at university. And I taught at international school in Hong Kong for about 8 years.
好啦，咁點解我哋今日要講 phonics 咧？
If you or your kids are learning English, then this is a very important foundation step. We're going to start with the first phonic sound.
Ramadan. Tall.
Tall.
A lot of educational settings that I've found from my experience still really focus on the alphabet. So it is important to make sure that phonics gets as much attention as well. If you only really know the alphabet and you try and read using an understanding of the alphabet, you're going to sound pretty funny, pretty much impossible to do.
我覺得喺香港，因為我哋係用 A、B、C 咁樣去學英文啦，好多時我哋嘅發音係唔準確，或者讀啲字係讀錯。咁用我個名 Glaze 嚟講啦，喺香港我係從來見到個名嗌名係唔會講得啱，好多人講 Glaze， 因為佢哋諗咧就係 A 個 sound 就係 A 咯，所以佢哋讀個名就係 Glaze， 但係其實係 Glaze， 因為你睇一個字讀出聲係要用 phonics， 唔係用 A、B、C 嘅音響。
Because when we think A, we usually say A is for apple, but of course apple starts with an A sound. It just doesn't make any sense to learn it as an A sound.
Phonics is all about sound. So if you use the alphabet, it's like A for apple. Well, that's confusing. B for ball. It's not B for ball, it's B for ball. And just as a funny example, just have a little watch of this with me reading a book to our boys alphabetically rather than phonetically.
What we have is one of Usborne's first books, one of the first ones you read for your phonics. Let's try and read it just using alphabet sounds. T-H-E-W-A-S.
That's it.
What are those words? Am I reading right?
You're just spelling it out.
That's alphabet reading, is that not right?
That's not right.
Yeah.
Rattled. Rattled.
Very good.
The night was cold. The sky was black. The window rattled. Tap, 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 tap.
Phonics is learning the letter sounds of a word rather than the letter names of a word, which is A, B, C. Now we're looking at alphabet, but that's not how we teach it. We teach it in a different order. The first phase is to learn s, at, then p, it, n, because a lot of words have those sort of sounds, so they learn the phases in a way that most of the words would combine those sort of sounds.
我學咗咁多年英文，都係第一次聽係要用呢一種組合去學英文先。This is really interesting.
Just a quick question for both of you. How many words do you think there are in the English language?
5,000.
10,000?
You're nowhere near. There are over 470,000 words in the English language. Words are really the way that you put sounds together. So, by not having any understanding of phonics, you're not going to be able to learn most of those words.
I always remember my mum saying, only ever use your fingertips because your hands are too sweaty.
I think our crumbs are ready. Grab a handful of mixed fruit and we'll whack that in there. This is important.
Yeah, make a well.
You have to put your eggs and your milk, your liquid in there, and then we're really going to make the batter. 2 eggs, beat it. Pour the egg into your well.
And now start bringing it together. This is the bit that I don't like, you like. Getting your hands in.
Get your hands in.
Yeah.
Ooh, one thing now.
你做咩你？咁夠膽除結婚戒指？
Just for the baking. Oh yes. Big ball of dough.
You need to put flour onto the rolling thing so it doesn't stick to the dough.
So Eileen，你可唔可以教下我哋點樣用 phonics 啊？
Well, generally, once the children come to us in reception, they've already learned sounds like wee and shh and boing boing, sounds like that. So now the phase 2 is we start to look at letter sounds where we would use them in words like, and the first phase is s, a, t, p, I, n. If you think about all the different words you can then make out of those sounds, you know, you've got sat, you've got sit, you've got sin, you've got tin. By just learning those 6 sounds, you're making lots of words already. And as they come to learn to read, first books they get correspond with those sounds. So they will be taught straight away to sound out a word rather than sight read a word. You're still going to get your sight reading words because you've got your common exception words, which we call tricky words or high frequency words. When you read them, they're not spelt as they sound. So for instance, the, said, where, by, me, they still have to learn those as sight words. But for the most part, you can sound out.
And to stick with our direct comparison of phonics versus alphabet, you have 26 letters of the alphabet. You have 44 what we call phonemes, which are basically the sounds that different letters can make. So the first thing you could do is learn the first 6 of those 44, and then you build on from there.
咁用我哋自己嘅 experience as 父母啦，當Noah搬嚟英國嘅時候，佢嗰陣時得6歲，但係佢嚟到嘅時候，佢嘅 reading level 同年嘅小朋友係爭一大橛嘅。個原因咧就係因為佢從來學英文咧都係用 ABC sight learning 咁樣去學。如果你用呢一個學習方法嘅時候咧，一啲比較深嘅書啊，或者一啲比較多字嘅書咧，呢啲小朋友係好難去望到呢個字，然後可以講到出聲，然後可以理解到全個句子、全個文章。咁所以佢一嚟到嘅時候係幾 struggle 嘅。
As soon as Noah came across to the UK, the very first thing that they identified was that Noah was only sight reading and he had no foundation of phonics. After 2 weeks, he was already starting to learn how to read simple and spell as well.
The other thing that I've seen change throughout the time I've been teaching phonics, years ago, it was more if the letter M was pronounced as M and the letter L was pronounced as L. But now we've gone back to the actual sound and it makes sense. The letter M is the sound and the letter L is the OO sound, because L and M sounds as though it should have an E after it. So it does make more sense now as well for the children as they are learning.
Certain sounds for maybe foreign learners are hard to replicate. Like for example, the L sound. I found in Hong Kong people do struggle with the L sound or the R sound for R. By learning phonics and going back to basics, you can help your pronunciation even as an adult as well. So we're at the stage now where we're going to be cutting our scones, and I remember very, very specifically, my grandma always taught me, try and get to the edge of your dough as close as possible. Really press in and twist. Drag it. There's one scone for your afternoon tea set.
我哋講咗咁耐，我覺得 Phonics 係比較 official learning 啦。咁點解會喺我哋 casual curriculum 度講呢一個 topic 咧？
In terms of the casual curriculum, last episode we looked at slang. Banter means jokes and laughing around with people. Melt is somebody who gets upset very easily. And I think slang is pretty much impossible without understanding phonics.
You know what's interesting as well? When you say the slang word for my mom to guess, she asks you every time how to spell it. What is mate?
Mate, that's the easy part.
How to spell? 因為我媽咪學英文嘅時候係用 ABCD 咁樣學 so when she hears native people speaking a sentence, she doesn't really understand the meaning unless she's learned it from a book. And she needs to spell it and visualize it in her head. 呢個字係點樣串係乜嘢意思，然後去咁樣估。但係如果你用 Phonics 嘅話咧，你就唔需要每一次聽到一個句子要 translate in your head 個串法先知道個 meaning。
Okay, I've just managed to get about 8 scones from that.
Generally speaking and listening, pronunciation, casual curriculum or learning casually is all about conversation and listening to people conversing. So that's why phonics ties into our casual curriculum.
Finishing touch, my mum always used to say, you need a nice glaze on the top. So you need a little bit of egg and a little bit of milk. Just mix that together. Using your brush, just put a little bit over the top of each of those. I can't see how you can get this bit wrong like this.
Gentle hands.
有啲似月餅，我覺得。
So the last thing, we just need to make sure we put these in the oven now. When you are checking, do not open the oven because you're going to let the heat out and they'll stop rising. You'll get a funny shape. We're going to close, we don't want to let the heat out. We'll go with 15 and then we'll have a look as we go along. They're already rising and browning.
It's like checking on our oven babies.
Your glaze has worked really well here.
Well, not sure how they taste yet, but they look like Grandma's scones.
Yeah, not bad at all.
Here's to Grandma Mary.
The ultimate question, 雞先定雞蛋先? Is this scones or scones?
That is the question.
Now, the way I'm going to justify why I say scone is I'm going to take a load of rhyming words. Stone, bone, tone, alone. It's all the oh.
What about gone?
Okay, so I hope you found that topic interesting. I hope you've learned a lot from it. If there is any more information that you would need or if there's anything else you'd like to know, please use the comment section below and we can try and cover that in some way in the future. Thank you for joining and see you next time. Bye. Okay, so we've got the boys back from school and like we said, we're going to have our little scone tester here. And Noah's got his little Oreos because he can't eat eggs. So Finn, scone.
Cone.
Very good. So scone or scone?
Scone. Because S-C-O-N-E spells scone. Don't get so long. Okay. I need to let him move. Okay, leave her. Jagger. You want your toaster?
I'll have one for myself. Yes, thank you very much.
Sometime. Wow. Thank you, great Grandma Mary. Thank you, great Mary. Get you like some subscriber.